They're broken down and defeated, deterred, busy and confused, sleeping. You're dying while I wait you to get started on the journey chosen, wasted, now it's selected. I was so bad, what happened? Fall out of the sky and crush me in my smile. I was so bad, what happened? Fall out of the sky and crush me in my smile. Silver sand jaded, then upcoming, they're broken down and defeated. You are dying while I wait you to get started. You are dying while I wait you to get started. I was so bad, what happened? Fall out of the sky, yeah. Push me in my smile. I was so bad, what happened? Fall out of the sky and crush me in my smile.
I'm a motherfucking unicorn, a one-of-one. The vibe being the love and light, then light and one. My karma isn't just stellar, I live by truth. Fighting evil, my scars are living proof. Protecting you from the storms with all my might. Love me, I will treat you right. You ever cross me, it's the last thing you'll ever do. With my crown of thorns, I'll wreck you. I ain't playing, yo, Ryan Hart, call me a saint. Too bad, Chris, because Bigfoot knows my name. I'm a messenger of God, with loyalty I serve, taking out all evil with his holy word. A true Knights Templar, sword in hand, slice you up, bury you in the sand. I'm a motherfucking unicorn, you'll never find anyone like me. Born in the Bronx, raised in NYC, so listen up, take heed. I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. A true Knights Templar, sword in hand, slice you up, bury you in the sand. I'm a motherfucking unicorn, you'll never find anyone like me. Born in the Bronx, raised in NYC, so listen up, take heed. I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Hello. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everybody. My youngest has said, hey, Dad, it's hump day. And I'm like, oh, please. She's crazy, though, but Al knows. I want to thank everybody for coming into the broadcast. Welcome. We are broadcasting on Facebook, on YouTube, on this channel, and also inside the Goblin universe, because that's where we were at one point in time. And we're going to be stepping into that Goblin universe in a little bit. But I wanted to, before we bring John Russell in, there is a conference coming up, and it's a big, big conference. And we're going to be there. I'm going to be there. So if we're just going to do the promo video, if it's all right with you, because that's the way to do it. And it is in Missouri. It's called the Crossing Realms Conference. It's September 19th and the 20th. And tickets are on Eventbrite, but let's take a quick look at this because we got to promote it. Want all you there. I want to actually meet everybody. And yes, as I stated before, I will be giving away free hugs. Lots of them. So there it is. It's coming up, and we're going to play it right now. That was it. That's it. It's going to be a great conference. It's a couple of days. It's in Missouri. There's going to be ghost hunts, and you're going to meet all these para celebrities, whoever they may be. And you get free hugs from me. I think Ron Murphy is going to give free hugs. But we're not only we're crossing the realms in Missouri, we're going to be crossing realms tonight with an amazing man I got to meet kind of online, but privately and personally when we were on the Three Beards with Craig Ansel. And I was just blown away by John. I remember there's a familiarity with John Russell, and I don't know where it is, but I know we've crossed paths in a good way. And he's got 50 years of psychic readings as a psychic, internationally known. He is a paranormal researcher and investigator. He's got a ton of experiences. He has filmed pilots for the History Channel and more. He is an award-winning author, and we're going to be talking about all this. But on top of that, I think one of the most impressive ones, and let's bring John in. John, welcome to Third Eye Live. One of the most impressive ones was he was just inducted to the Brotherhood of Magicians.
Yes, Brian, it's so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a delight to talk with you, my friend. Yeah, I joined the International Brotherhood of Magicians. I've been card magic themed since I was a kid. And I used to have my dad owned a bar. And when I would get out of school, my mother would take me to the bar, and I would go in there and harass anybody that would put up with me with card magic, right?
That's great.
It just drive people crazy. And I was just absolutely in love with it. I like stage magic, David Copperfield, so on and so forth. But I just really always had this affinity for card magic. And I kept studying magic until young adulthood, somewhere around in there, and then just drifted away from it for a while for some reason. I kind of halfway kept in touch with things, but then
Right.
in my later years now, I've gone back to the study of card magic. I know some stuff that if we were there in person, I could do for you that would just make your jaw drop. And decided, hey, what better time to join the International Brotherhood of Magicians? So
I was blown away because that I know people that do. I have some friends, younger friends and older friends that live for magic.
Yeah.
And the art of sleight of hand and it's incredible actually. And there's something mystical about it in itself.
There is.
And I think their goals is like to play, what was that, Magic Castle? And then also to be inducted in the Brotherhood.
Right.
And I've heard about the Brotherhood. And then when you research it, like, it's not an easy feat. I mean, it really isn't.
Well,
so I was thoroughly impressed.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's a great thrill. It's a great honor to be in there. And, I've never really had any performance goals. And really still don't, other than amusing whoever I can, con into watching something. But I've always enjoyed it for my own pleasure. And by being a member of the Brotherhood, you get a lot of inside info and a lot of stuff that you don't get otherwise. And it's a really cool gig. It's really neat.
So I got to ask you, like, because one of my friends, the younger one that is always doing magic, he always has stuff on him. Did you always have a deck of cards, like those sponge balls?
Oh, absolutely. I'll always have the deck of cards.
Yeah.
And nowadays there's always a deck of cards within reach. So that's kind of a given.
Yeah. He used to have, and every so often he'd have a new one, like he'd make his finger just, and it's not the old, whatever trick.
Right.
But the coolest thing I went to a concert, and one of the coolest things he always used to have, he has it on a 24/7, is flash paper.
Oh yeah.
Flash paper, like the fire and stuff like that.
Right.
And I was watching a U2 concert at Madison Square Garden, and these people were just obnoxious with being obnoxious and with their smoking of marijuana. And I'm not opposed to it. I did plenty of it growing up.
Right.
And they just was like, hey man, do you have any papers? And I gave him the flash paper, John. And my God, they let it. He goes, this tastes funny. I'm like, oh, I must have been in my pocket. And he went, and I was like, screw you. Yeah, you're great magicians. Al's from the city. Al's actually in upstate New York.
Right.
He's in near Po Town, Poughkeepsie. So he's my, when we're back, we started doing a lot more Bigfoot investigations with each other.
Cool.
It's there. So we always do that. He just said, I did magic. I made Brian disappear from New York.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, it did it, all the politics there. But I want to thank Maurice for being in there. Harlan, Tennessee, who is here too. Tennessee Ridge runner. Kimber, thank you very much. We have a couple other people. We want to get into this stuff, but I always love, and doesn't it go perfectly with the paranormal psychic abilities?
Well, it does. And the amazing thing is in the magic world, there are a tremendous amount of cynics, not skeptics, but cynics. For example, Penn and Teller are cynics. All the paranormal is fake, anything spiritual is fake, blah, 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 blah. And so when I constructed when you join the International Brotherhood of Magicians, you get your own webpage at the Brotherhood website.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so when I constructed my webpage, I put my quote up there, which says, just because something can be faked doesn't mean the real doesn't exist.
Right.
And so, I've always wanted people to know that. But it's really funny talking about the parallels between the paranormal and the realm of magic. And if you start really messing around with cards a lot, you'll notice all these strange synchronicities that occur that should not be occurring and that are not the product of chance. Right. And I was telling my wife the other day, I show her when I learn something new and really get it down just right, I show it to her. And we were discussing, and I was telling her, I said, I really do think that there are parallels from the paranormal realm into card magic, and that things actually really do kind of influence or connect that way sometimes. And obviously, when you're doing an effect, it's something that you learned and it's not real, but you want to make it look real. You want to create the illusion of magic happening to entertain people. And I tell people, I say, that's how you know the difference between the fake and the real. The real doesn't work all the time, because there's no psychic on this planet that's 100% accurate. Doesn't happen, doesn't occur.
Zero psychic.
And when you see a stage magician go up on stage and they tell you the serial number of a dollar bill given to them through a mind reading act, and it works every single time from city to city to stage, that's fake, because the real never works 100%. I would to God that it did, but it doesn't. So that's one of the ways. But excuse me. I've always told people, I said, I want you to understand that just because a magician can fake mind reading, can fake bending a spoon, can fake whatever, that doesn't mean that the real doesn't exist.
Right. So classic point, so John is a highly awarded author. I'm just going to share something here, and we're going to be going through this stuff because they're important. So this is John's first book, Writing with Ghosts, Angels, and the Spirit of the Dead. Talk about a trip, folks. I mean, I thought driving with my wife and two daughters was tough. I thought driving with Al Santarega sometimes was tough. But yeah. And then he segues into A Knock in the Attic, true ghost stories and other spine-chilling paranormal adventures. Then this was when actually you were on the Beards, but we're going to also talk about it as well. 20 ways to increase your psychic abilities, right? It's like 10-minute abs, but 20 ways to increase your psychic abilities. This is the latest book, The Crying Tree and Magic Rock, which the title really, really hit me, hard. And we'll go into that a little bit. And then, of course, all these are available on Amazon. And then
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Apple Books, 8 Books, just about anywhere online you can get them. And
one of the things I always ask is, I like autograph copies. I love the personalization of it. There's something about it. There's a connection to it. So I asked him backstage, and I think I'll probably ask you on the Beards as well. If someone wanted to get an autograph book, could they possibly email you via your website, which is scrolling right now across the show, and work out an arrangement where you can say, yes, here you go?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done that several times for people to get autograph copies. And each book's individual page, and we'll get into that later on.
Right.
Each book's individual page also has a link to get an autograph, to buy an autograph copy.
That's perfect, because I'm literally going to do that. Although I'd like to drive out to you and meet you and say hi and have some lunch and whatever it is. And I'll transport you wherever you need to go. But
we'll get you set up. We'll get you fixed up.
That would be perfect. I just removed it for a second. But something I tossed around. One of the things I want to do in this show is I want to help as many people as possible and leave this. I want people to leave this show going, wow, that was great. I feel great. Life's good. And it's going to get better.
Yeah.
And yes, you're a world-renowned psychic. I'm going to ask people, and this is how I'm going to do it. If you have questions for John, I promise you we will get to them. I'm starring them right now. And if he so chooses, and he doesn't have to, he's a busy man. He's got things on his plate. If he can answer those questions, I don't want to put him on. I don't want to put him on the spot. My buddy Al, actually, we were supposed to do an investigation upstate New York, Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. I couldn't make it, family obligations. So he took these two guys and these two women up there, and I did a remote view. I called it remote viewing, but I have psychic abilities. I'm owning it.
There you go.
Right. So I did it, and I told him, like, there's a tree there, there's one over there. I was telling him what's going on.
Right.
And then he goes, he texts me, he goes, they want to know what color they're thinking of. And John, that really pissed me off.
Yes.
And I was like,
yes.
and I cursed him. I'm like, I'm not an effing dog and pony show.
Right.
And I told him, I said, those guys are thinking of purple and the lady's thinking of green, a little bit more chartreuse. And he came back with laughing. He goes, spot on. And they're like, how does
what
he
I
do
always do when people do that, if they say, what color am I thinking of? I say 5.
Exactly. That's great.
Or if they say, what number am I thinking of? I go, red.
Yes.
Because like you say, we're not the magic act and the dog and pony show.
No, it does actually a lot of times. Now we'll get into the psychic abilities. The more and more I do what I do, it's like a muscle. So it exercises it and it moves on, and you kind of get quicker. It also depends on how you're feeling that day. If you're really tired, I think you connect a little bit. Well, for me, I connect a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been getting like strange things happening. So, in your first book, which was, well, we're not going to go into that. I want to go a little bit more chronological, right? So, when, did anybody else in your family have gifts and abilities that would be using them throughout your life?
A little bit, but nobody had anything as strong as mine, and nobody's ever had as many paranormal experiences as I have.
Okay, so when you grew up, you had the gifts and abilities, but did anybody in the family member help you to develop it, or have a support system in place to kind of hone your craft?
Nobody really helped me to develop it. It was encouraged. But mostly everything I did, the other side either taught me directly.
Okay.
And I studied a lot. I read since the age of 11, and I got into I was reading William James, The Varieties of Religious Experience at age 11.
Wow.
So I started this heavy research early on. And between the research and my main focus in reading things was, okay, there's all these theories out there. There's all these teachings out there. There's all these belief systems. How many of them actually work? And so that was my main thing, was to read and study and understand all these things, put them into practice and see if they actually work. If they worked, then I kept bits and pieces of them. If they didn't work, then I discarded them and moved on.
Right. So it's trial and error.
Yeah.
And so how old were you when you actually, it's like, there's a guy with half a face in my bedroom right now. What was that? What I think that's a knock in the attic, right?
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
That was where that's basically, is that an autobiography for you? The knock in the attic?
It is. Yeah, it is. And that goes back to my childhood when my psychic abilities awakened, when everything developed, a knock in the attic. And I was about 5.5 years old when I had my first experience with this ghost that opened up the portal to all these paranormal experiences. And then between the ages of 5 and 6 after that, I became aware that I had developed a psychic gift, that it had also awakened the psychic gift.
So here's something that's interesting. Was the ghost a ghost, or was it a spirit guide? Were you meeting in actuality your spirit guide?
Yeah. I don't know. I've tried to get that information, and it's never been given to me, interestingly enough. And I know that
aren't they, John?
Yes, I know that he came specifically to open up this portal to these paranormal experiences, because I've had probably thousands by now, but way over 1,000 literal physical paranormal experiences. These are supernatural things that have occurred on the physical realm. Other people have seen them and witnessed them, been participatory in this. We've filmed them. We've audio recorded them. We've taken photographs. So they are real things, not something imagined or hallucinated or meditated or whatever. So he opened up the portal to that. And I couldn't articulate it when I was a kid, but I understood intuitively that these things that were happening to me were going to be extremely important to me and extremely important to other people down the road, that it was going to be something that would be an aid and a help both to me and to them. And then shortly after that, I became aware of my psychic gifts. So that was a component of him coming through to open all of that. And I don't think that he may have been a guide of a type, but it was like a very specific, short-lived hit-and-run mission. Let's get in, let's blast this kid's third eye open, and then let's get out, and my job's done. And
like
it's the only
DoorDash
one-
for the ghost world, right? It's DoorDash.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's
And
your fries. That's a portal. I gotta go.
I gotta go. You've got it from here, kid. And from that, though, there came into my life a retinue of spirit guides, guardian angels, and so on and so forth that have contributed to my understanding, to my growth, to helping me to exercise my gifts and my abilities. And so it's been a really beautiful life. It's been a really enjoyable life.
That's incredible. One of the questions I also had is, how did you meet your spirit guides? I've tried everything except leaving out milk and cookies and rum. I'm like, can I have your name? Can you tell me your name? And
and what's funny, a lot of the times they don't. I have guides that I know they have been with me since I was a kid, and some of them have never given me a name. I just recognize them by their presence and their energy. And it's almost like, hey, don't get hung up on a name. Don't get hung up on trying to identify me or put a label on me or whatever. You know me from my presence and my energy and from our interactions, and that's enough. And so, some of these, I don't know if some of these entities just want their privacy, or if it's, somebody made a real interesting comment the other day that said, maybe they've been through so many dimensions or metamorphoses or whatever in their lifetime that they've been known by several different names, and it's like, forget the name thing. Just I'm here,
Right.
So,
I mean, that's an interesting concept because I've had some strange things. Like this is one of the strangest things I ever had. This was a bunch of years ago, probably about 2015, 16. And it's going to be a little bit weird, but I was in our apartment. I'm using the bathroom, sitting there.
mhm.
I see this flash like at the corner of my eye, like someone took a camera picture. I look down, and just hovering in the air, this little, it looked like a door opened up. Something came out, looked at me, and went, "Oh crap!" and then went back, and it was gone as fast as possible. And I'm like, I'm sitting there going, if I tell anybody about this, they're going to say, "What were you smoking, or what were you drinking, or whatever."
We need to understand, and this is what I try and get through to everybody, is like, look, this is the normal state of the planet, not the abnormal state of the planet.
Oh yeah.
And I try and get people to understand that just like right now, where all of our listeners sit, where we're sitting, through the air are these invisible radio waves that are surrounding all of us right now. We're not aware of them. We can't touch them. We can't smell them. We can't taste them. We can't feel them. But if we take and plug a radio into the wall and turn it on and start turning the dial, oh, there's a country station. Oh, there's a rock station. Oh, there's a classical station. Oh, there's a jazz station. So the spirit realm is everything, and it's way more than the fourth dimension. There's many dimensions. The spirit realm is way interleaved and way intercomplex. But that's around us all the time. Whether we're aware of it or not, it's there. And it's the same way in the spiritual realm. All these energies, minds, manifestations, spirits, nature spirits, guardian angels, our deceased loved ones, they're all around us all the time, wherever we're at, just like those radio waves are.
Yeah.
And we have to learn ways to tune into that. And I teach some of those ways in my my third book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. I teach people some
That would
ways.
be that one right there, folks.
Yeah, that would be that one. And what I did in writing this, Brian, was, there's so much gobbledygook and superstition and dogma and tradition and ritual out there in the spiritual realm. And what I did was strip all of that away from these techniques. And I define the technique. I tell you what it is. And then I tell you how to learn it step by step. You don't have to have any special knowledge, any special tools or whatever. I'd tell you step by step how to learn it, how to practice it, how to get good at it, and then apply it to the real world. So they're
Right.
all practical techniques. They're all easy to learn. There's amazing stories in there that bolster what I'm teaching you and what I'm telling you. One of the most mind-blowing to me in 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities is I had a friend that worked for the NSA, the National Security Agency, as a code breaker. And he said, John, he said, we had this code and nobody could break it. We had all our computers on it, all our machines on it, all our best minds on it. And I'm working on this thing to the point that it's literally about to break my health. It's driving me crazy. I'm obsessed with it and I can't break it. And I'm exhausted mentally, physically, spiritually, every way you can be exhausted. And he said, I came in one night in my suit and tie and my dress shoes, and I was so exhausted. I stood at the foot of my bed, turned around, put my calves and the back of my legs up against the footboard, and just fell over backward into the bed with my suit and tie on and everything, and just immediately fell into this exhausted sleep. And he said, I had this lucid dream. And in this lucid dream, like in Times Square where they have the scrolling billboard.
Scroll like it, yeah. He
said, in this lucid dream, here come the characters of this code scrolling across this billboard. And he said, in my lucid dream, I'm thinking to myself, my God, I can't even go to sleep and get rest and get away from this thing now. This thing's going to drive me crazy. And he said, all of a sudden, another scrolling board appeared right below it with the letters in clear.
Code was like the
code.
And
he woke up, had a pen and paper by his bed, remembered enough of it to write it down, ran into the office, and that broke the code. So we have these capabilities to connect with these things, and we have to learn how, and I teach people how to do that in the book, and then we have to practice them and continue to work with them, because it's just like going to the gym.
Yep.
If you go to the gym, your goal is to bench press 100 pounds, and all you can bench press is 50 pounds. You bench press that 50 pounds 3 times a week until you can get up to 55 or 60, and you keep going, and weeks later, months later, whatever, you finally hit that 100 pounds. And then if you go on vacation or you get sick or you're just lazy and you take 3 weeks off, you go back to the gym, oh, all of a sudden now I can only get 80 up. I can't do that 100 anymore. And it's just like that in the spiritual realm. You have to learn these tools and techniques. You have to practice them. You have to continue to practice them. You have to keep working with them. And when you stop, everything kind of fades away and you got to reconnect again.
This is what I said to, going back to what you were saying on tuning it in. I always use that analogy is right now, as we're having this conversation, there are probably a dozen plus spirits or entities that are here in the room, some in different dimensions, some vibrating at a higher frequency. And if we had the old school, like receiver with that fine tuning, we can fine tune it in. And that is what, like, some of the, we're going to have Ron and Lourdes are going to come on. They do it's like ITC communications. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And they fine tune it enough to drown out the, that sound, which anytime someone breaks out a spirit box on an investigation, I'm looking at them like, I'm going to kill you.
I know, right?
I'm just put headphones in, right? They, and it's great. And matter of fact, when I got bored one night and they were doing it live on Facebook, and I joked around and I typed in the chat, what are the winning Powerball numbers, right? So the spirit on the other end said Brian Bowden. And my buddy goes, yeah, Brian Bowden's here. And I'm like, okay, so answer the question.
Really? give me those Powerball numbers.
and John, that is whenever I meet somebody that has abilities or is professing them, I'm a New York City guy. So I'm very, very quiet. I don't like people taking advantage of people.
Right.
One of the reasons why I didn't do readings initially is I don't want to be a Miss Cleo.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I now stand by what I see.
Yep.
But and I always tell everybody, the future is fluid. And if I tell you you're going to hit the lottery or something's going to happen,
Right.
And you're like, cool, you're going to meet that special person.
Yeah.
Great. And you sit back and you don't do a damn thing or
Yeah.
don't follow your path that you normally would. Guess what? It's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's
Or
right.
it may happen at a later date because you said you sidebarred it, right?
They messed up the timeline. Yeah.
Right.
And I always tell my clients, I say, look, there are certain things in your life that I foresee that are going to happen in that time frame, regardless of what you do or don't do. And there are other things that, just exactly like you say, I've told clients, I said, look, here's a forecast for meeting this person that you want to meet. But if you meet somebody before this time frame occurs and decide, oh, well, I'm going to disregard what John said and I'm going to start dating this guy, then you're not going to connect with the right person. So
Right.
we do have these choices, and our choices do affect that timeline.
And there are things that throw curveballs at people. They'll throw a curveball. Like you're supposed to be person A, but person C comes in.
Yeah.
And you're like, But if you go with person C, or I think they determine, they see, like, let's see what his resistance is, his will is.
Right. Right.
And I think they throw these curveballs in there because you need to start disciplining yourself in life with certain things.
Exactly right. Exactly.
You go through a life, and if it's constant problem, and whatever it is, because you're trying to be the nice guy and you're constantly getting screwed, they're going to keep throwing that at you until you wake up and they realize, I'm tired of getting screwed.
He's learned his lesson.
You got to learn your lesson.
Yeah.
And
we all have these life lessons to learn.
Yeah. And, I, getting back to the psychics, whenever I had a psychic, I always test them.
Mm-hmm.
And to be brutally honest, you have to tell me something that there's no way in hell you have, and I've had people do that.
Yeah. And
then I've had other people tell me some
gobbledygook.
Yeah. And I'm very polite. I'm like, oh, thank you very much. And I walk away. And, if I hear somebody like, I'm going to go to Mystic, whatever, I'm like, please don't use that person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because some of it's a game, but something that's very interesting. So we were talking predictions before, and John was on Coast to Coast, right?
Yeah.
On New Year's doing the predictions of 2025. Now, I didn't listen to that episode, and he didn't listen to what I've been doing with a couple of them, but I just did a quick dive into it.
Yeah.
And I basically said it's the year of change, lots of change.
Yeah.
And it's going to start out rough. The first third is going to start out rough, but we're going to balance out, and then it's going to get to being like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Happy days are here again,
Yeah.
But something happened to my other half, people not coming back, and they quit, they move on, and they're all upset because things are changing. I said, well, this is what I've been trying to tell you, but she doesn't listen.
Yeah.
2025 is a year of change.
Yes, it is.
And she says, well, is it good or bad? And I say, yes. It's like, tell me what color I'm thinking of. 5.
Yeah.
John and I do the same thing.
Yep.
Or I play games with my kids to try to do things telepathically.
Right.
I'm thinking of a color,
Yeah.
and my kids, being the wise guys they are, go burnt sienna. No, no, like sea foam green. And I'm like, no, red, orange, green, blue, purple, violet. Pick one of those. I mean, I just try to do this because I've seen it done. But it's going to be change.
Yeah.
And it's going to be good and it's going to be bad. And even things that are good are bad for you, and even things that are bad are actually turn out to be good, because when one door closes,
they absolutely can.
Right.
And like we were talking earlier before we came on the air, one of the predictions I made, which dovetails with what you said, was that overall, everything considered, we're still going to have our ups and downs, our lumps and bruises, but overall, everything considered, this is going to be a better year for us. So that's something to look forward to, but we have to take steps to connect with that as well. It's like, I had a client one time, and I was always giving her time frames for meeting the right romantic partner. And some months would go by, and she'd call and schedule another reading. And I'd say, well, did you meet your partner? No. Didn't meet anybody? No. Didn't connect with anybody? No. Okay. So a few months down the road, give her another prediction. She'd call. Did you meet your partner? Did you meet this person? No, no. So one day I asked her, she'd been a long-term client. And so one day I just asked her, I said, listen, I said, you keep coming back to me, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I said, how accurate are my readings for you? Oh my God, she said, they're just mind-blowing. She said, just incredible. I said, well, how accurate are my predictions for you? She said, geez, like 98%. I was like, okay, what's the deal with romance? I said, if I'm that accurate and I'm that good and I'm predicting these romantic connections and they're never happening, what in the world's going on? I said, what are you doing to connect with somebody? Oh, nothing. I said, God's not going to drop him through the roof of the house into your lap while you're watching TV. Get online, join a matchmaking group, go to a socials group, socials club, do something. Ask your friends to set you up so that you can open up this pool to this person coming into your life. It's like, oh my God. We do have a responsibility in some of this.
It is, but that's why I try to stress it when I'm doing a reading. If someone comes to me and they're paying me for a reading, first of all, it's like I charge X for an hour, whatever it is.
Right.
That's per hour. But I'm Brian. I'm going to give you a lot of free stuff. If I'll get messages like one of my good friends. They're coming on the show. I told him what to do, and he's procrastinating. And I got the procrastinate. And like literally out of the, it just comes in, and I go, "You're procrastinating. I'm going to start you off with here." And he was like, "How the hell did you do that?" And I said, "I told you. I'm not just like pay me, and pay me again. I'm going to give you what I can give you. I like to help people."
Yeah. I do have a lot of people. The other side will give me messages for people, and I'll just email them out of the blue and say, da 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 da. They'll go, "Oh my God, how did you know? That's exactly what I needed right now."
Yeah.
Or this is exactly what's happening, or whatever. So that is what it's all about. It's like, and people always say, "Well, if you have a gift, how can you charge for the readings?" It's like, I'm not charging you for the reading. I'm charging for my time.
Right.
Because if I go to the grocery store and I say, "I'm John Russell. I've been a professional psychic for over 50 years. I'm internationally known. I've read for clients in 40 countries. I have 4 multi-award-winning books out." They're going to go, "Wow, that's pretty cool. Your groceries are $162.78.
Exactly.
So it's like, I got to pay the bills just like anybody else. And if people want me to do this, I've got to have some way to make a living. We're not rich, and I don't have a benefactor, so got to pay the bills."
And you know what? There are some people I know that won't charge anybody for anything. And I get it. Because that's just the path they've been on.
Right.
But I think you're entitled for your time. And the hardest thing for me is when I interviewed this one psychic I was friendly with. We're not anymore. And these are my 2 questions for psychics. What are the Powerball and Mega Millions numbers?
Right.
And 2, who are my guardian angels and why do they drink? And the second one really got her. She's like, "What did you just say?" It's the truth. I mean, do you understand? Like, oh my God, they have to be drinking after I've been experiencing what I experienced.
Exactly.
And so it's a great icebreaker for them.
Yeah.
But it's like they were the ones that said, "No, you need to do more readings."
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. So I said, "I don't really know what to charge." So someone else said, "Charge them this." And I'm like, "Really?" She goes, "Well, yeah, because you're going to remote view it."
Yeah.
It's just, whatever. It's like it's an extra, like it's magically extra or whatever.
Right.
So I just took that number and I went with it. Boy, am I off. I mean, like there are people making a killing and this stuff. But and my problem is I do a lot of pro bono. If I can help you, I'm going to help you. So, that's how it works. But
a good psychic doesn't make a good living. because
No,
you
no.
care too much about helping people. My wife always tells me, she said, "You're the worst businessman on the entire planet." I said, "Yeah, but I sleep good at night because I've been true to my gift, true to my clients, and you know."
Yeah, I mean, but that's the whole thing. It's like, I had a friend who was, I met through online, whatever, good person, he's having problems. And
Mhm.
we were driving back and forth from New York to Florida looking for a place to live because I
Right.
love the free state of Florida. That's what it says when you come in. Welcome to the free state of Florida, as opposed to when you go into New York, which is give me your money.
Right.
So he was basically on the ledge, and I wasn't going to let it happen. And I was, the other half's like, come on, it's late. We got to get up in the morning. And I said, this person is not, I'm not getting off this phone until I talk this person off that ledge.
Exactly.
And I was up for about 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I
Saved
just
a
won't let
life.
that happen.
Yeah. Saved a life.
Yeah. So, and I've done this so many times, and I really do feel that that's one of the callings I have, in this whole process. But as far as being a psychic is concerned, so you started around age 7, or were you seeing things in like, what's that earlier?
I was giving accurate psychic readings and predictions from the age of 6.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That must be fun when family comes over for like Thanksgiving.
Oh man, there were people I scared the hell out of that never even came back to the house again.
Well,
And I started reading for friends and family when I was a teenager, and then by the time that I reached 18, I was reading professionally, and then went on from there. And I've been doing it over 50 years. So.
It's really weird. So some of the new stuff that happens to me 2 years ago, the schools start early down in Florida. So like August, like 11th, they started.
Right.
If I had to go to school, Al, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we had to go to school in August in New York, we probably would have killed people. You know what I'm saying?
Excuse me.
So I drive down we went to get a couple of things, for the kids. And I said, oh, you want to go get something to eat? And I was hoping they wouldn't say it, but they said this one place, Duffy's. You may have one on the West Coast. So I'm sitting in this Duffy's with my 2 daughters, and the waitress comes over, and she's really, really nice. And all of a sudden this other waitress comes out, and it's a blonde waitress. And instantaneously I get this download in my head. This is how it plays out. Mm-hmm. It's the last call at the bar. She's talking to a heavy set Hispanic gentleman with 5 o'clock shadow. No, I'll take you. Mm-hmm. And then the next scene of that is she is literally dead.
Yeah.
Blue. And I'm like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, I've just witnessed this. So I'm like, and my kids like, Dad, what's wrong? I said, nothing, I'll be back. I got to tell this person as a father of daughters. I need to tell this person.
Yep. You have to. Yeah.
But one of my friends, Carl Petrie, who is also gifted, he sees little TVs over the left shoulder. He's going to be on the show. Mm-hmm. One person, I'm just going to say it. Someone asked this question. I think it was Kim. You ever do missing persons cases? Now, Carl doesn't do missing persons cases because unless he's asked, or whatever, because what happens in the real world is police don't normally believe psychics or psychics.
Oh yeah,
too much. Oh, yeah. Guess who's going to jail?
Yep.
So I was worried about that with this waitress. So I went out and I'm looking for someone to call. Now you were on my friend who's another sister of me, Cisco. Her show, Journey Through the Gate Paranormal Portal podcast. Go check it out Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And I go, Cisco, I've never done this before. How the hell am I going to do this without getting whatever? And she says, this is Cisco to the T. Don't worry, I got you. You go up to her and you tell him you're a medium and you have a caution for him. Yeah. You go through the process. So, I'm playing with this, and I reluctantly went up to her, at the end. I kind of scared her because I paid my bill. She wasn't coming out.
Right.
And I saw her come out, and I started walking towards her, and she was like, oh, I said, no. And I said, I'm a medium.
Mm-hmm.
I have a caution for you. And I told her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, what? And I said, I told her what it was. You
Yeah.
get, I don't care who it is, if it's the end of the night, take an Uber home.
Yeah.
Do not go take the ride.
Yep.
And she said, okay, she said, can you say that one more time? And I told it one more time. And I paid my credit card, and I'm like, oh my God, they have a receipt. If she dies, I'm dead.
You're dead. Yep.
So long story short, I had Duffy's for the longest time, right? Understandably, I'm like, I don't want to go in there, but we happened to go out at one point, and this is almost 9 months later,
Mm-hmm.
and we ended up at that Duffy's during the day, not at night. I thought she was just a night waitress.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there with, a couple of friends and whatever, and the other half. And as I was going out, she said, excuse me. And I'm like, yes, it was her. She goes, you're that guy. You told me not to take the car. I said, yes. She goes, thank you very much. Because that guy got arrested afterwards or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I was just like, my pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you talk about it's funny, about the suspicion that psychics get under when working with law enforcement. There have been some psychics that have gone to police stations and said, hey, I see this person laying out in a field on County Road 95 and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, well, only the killer could know that. And they arrested the psychic, until they cleared them. And then the other thing is I've worked twice with the FBI. And
that's cool. That's great.
No, not really. Bad experience. This one time, this guy called me and he said, I'm FBI agent so-and-so, and we want to ask you to help us on a case and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, anybody can say that.
Right.
So I said, listen, I have caller ID. I've got your number. And I said, I'm going to call the field office where you're at, supposedly, and ask for you at that field office. And I said, if you're legit and if you're there, everything's cool. But I said, I know a ton of people in various law enforcement agencies, and I do, in the FBI, Sheriff's Department, Police Department. And I said, if I find out this is some kind of a scam, I said, the hammer's going to fall on you so hard that you wish you never even seen the light of day. So he laughed and he said, okay. So I called the department. I said, I need agent so-and-so. Oh yeah. Okay. And they put me through to him. So it was legit. So they had me do this reading on this case. And without going into all the details, obviously, I told them some very specific things. And one of the things I told them was there's this specific, and in Texas, I grew up in Texas.
Right.
And they have these spur roads, and they're all 4-digit numbers. And I said, there's a spur road, and I'm seeing the numbers da 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 da. And I said, go down that, and on the left, there's going to be a turnoff, like in kind of a pasture or something like that. And there's some type of evidence or something over there that you need to find. So that was the short of it. And so anyways, he called me back a little while later to follow through on some things. And I said, did you look and see if the numbers of the spur road I saw were a spur road that actually existed? And he said, oh yeah, we did. Yeah, there is such a spur road. There's those exact numbers of the spur road and just the order you gave us. I said, great. You went down that road and turned into that thing. And no, we didn't. We never did go any further with that. And I'm like, okay, fine. Fantastic. So you encountered that a lot. And then I had a family that called me and they said, we had a family member murdered. And I said, don't say any more. I said, let me tell you what I'm seeing. And I described the house, the interior of the house where the body was found, what the person looked like, and then what I saw the perpetrator looking like. And they said, oh my God, they said, that's exactly how the crime scene was. And that's the exact description of the person that we think that did it. And they said, would you please call? We've got the FBI involved. And if I give you the agent's name, would you please call and give them that information? I was like, oh boy. Okay. So I called and got his voicemail, left in the information, said, please call if you have any questions. I'll be happy to talk with you. and never got a call from him, of course. And I got a call from, I always blank out on this. The name will come to me here in a minute. The production company that did the Psychic Detectives TV show.
Oh,
I got a call from them one time, and they said, "Have you done work with police department stuff?" I said, "Well, just kind of informally, not really in a dedicated investigation way or anything." And they said, "Well, if we can connect you with a police department, sheriff's department, or whatever that would work with you, would you do that for the show?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely. I'd be delighted." And so we got to talking, and nothing ever came of it, but we got to talking, and I said, "Listen," I said, "I've seen your show." And I said, "You've had some psychics on there that have blown my hair back, because this is kind of like their specialty, finding dead people or finding missing people or whatever, this, that, and the other." And I said, I've been amazed. And I said, "Why don't they just keep using the people they've already got, you know?" And she said, "Well," she paused a little bit. She said, "There's kind of a conundrum there." She said, "A lot of times," she said, "a lot of law enforcement agencies are highly reluctant to work with psychics because of the stigma to begin with, Miss Cleo, that type of thing." And she said, "Also, the ones you've seen that have been so highly successful, it's bruised the officers' egos."
Oh, yeah.
Because they feel like somebody came in and stepped on their turf and solved something when it should have been them doing it, and it bothered their egos, and they don't want to mess with them again, So it's like, holy cow. So you run into a lot of stuff. It's really crazy.
Yeah. There's an arrogance to it.
There is.
It's really funny. I don't know if you remember the movie with I forgot his name, but it was Ned Beatty and someone else. The original it's not. I think it's Walter Matthau. It's called Hopscotch.
Oh, yeah.
And in there, when and my buddy who works for the government, I've known him since I'm like 7. He works with FBI guys and everybody, threat assessment. And we both say the same thing. You know what FBI stands for? Fucking ball busting imbeciles.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
I've known a couple FBI agents, one of which infiltrated the KKK.
Yeah.
He said the funniest thing was when they went to trial, they got the evidence, they put me on the stand and they're like, oh, that's Billy Bob. He's going to, look what he's going to say. And he's like, "I'm a special agent, blah, blah, blah." And their faces went,
yeah, exactly.
They went crazy with that. But, actually recently, I have some friends in places like this as well, government wise. So there was something going on I was picking up on, and I started dialing into it. And around the 13th, I said, "I don't get your clearances, but I'm going to tell you the following." And because this is when the drone activity was coming, whatever.
Right.
And I said, "You need to look here. You look in the basement of these things. This other guy knows what I'm talking about there.
Yeah.
Watch the water by the Statue of Liberty for New Year's. Check out the Hoover Dam. There's stuff coming down from Minnesota, whatever it was." And it was basically nuclear material, whatever. So I just threw it out there.
Yeah.
I said, "You're going to investigate these things. It's what you do." And lo and behold, like 48 hours later, they arrested a Yakuza guy for trying to sell nuclear material. And there was some other people and some other raids there. And I was like, okay.
Yep.
I was right. And it doesn't matter, because the grand scheme is to save as many people or help as many people. There's a ton of people that I posted on Facebook, and I always get to Facebook jail. So now I have to breadcrumb, right?
Yep.
And I can't just say, X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Right. So it's really difficult to do that. So I have to. Autistic teen in Henderson, Tennessee needs to be found. Parents are getting heat for hurting him. Okay, well, I'll take a look into that at one point, and if I see something, leave a place where I can leave information. I'll do some remote viewing. Sometimes these teens, unfortunately, run away from that kind of abusive people.
Yeah.
And usually I find with things like this, a lot of time my gut feeling, the initial output is like kind of spot on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just we're trying to help people, but I'll breadcrumb people. But I used to get upset, like, oh, you're crazy or whatever, and then it comes to fruition, and I used to be like, how come no one's listening? I'm just trying to help.
Yeah.
And someone said to me, which is very, very important, you sent the message out. It's not your responsibility for whether they believe you or not.
Yeah.
You alerted them. You gave them the information.
Yeah. You tried. You tried. And that's all you can do. And, you have to realize that, it's really funny. I've been on, over 200 interviews in the past 4 years. And a lot of the YouTubes, like on the YouTube interviews, I can see the chat sidebars, while I'm being interviewed. And it's so funny because people will believe in Bigfoot, people will believe in UFOs, people will believe in this, that, and the other. But you say you're psychic and, this guy's full of BS, this guy's a liar, this guy's a fraud, this guy's a phony. And you see the comments in the sidebar in the chat, it's like, I was interested in this guy until he said he was a psychic. Now he's lost me, And it's so funny. People will admit, okay, I believe there's UFOs, I believe there's Sasquatch, but I don't believe in psychics, And it's so funny because we have this rich history of, Stanford Research Institute, the Rhine Research Institute, the big one in New York, I can't think of right offhand. There's a big one in England that have done this research forever and a day and proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, scientifically, that psychic abilities exist and paranormal occurrences exist. And it just always amazes me why people are so antagonistic to that. And I tried to discern that, tried to figure out why. And I think one of the reasons, Brian, is that when skeptics come, cynics, rather, they're not skeptics, they're cynics.
Yeah.
And when cynics approach the spiritual realm, they're like, give me those winning lottery numbers. Tell me that this is going to happen and when, or tell me that and da-da-da. And if you can't do that, you're a phony, you're a fraud, there's nothing to any of it. And they don't understand how this realm works. And they don't understand the other side doesn't sit there like a puppy dog with a wagging tail going, come ask me for what you want. Come ask me for what you want. It's not that way. It's just not that way. And I always get tickled when people ask, well, if you're psychic, why haven't you won the lottery? And my answer is, don't you think I've tried? Oh my God, I've tried. I had a friend that was a psychic, was a friend of my first my wife, and then myself after we got together. And me and him would sit down together and try and brainstorm the numbers. And it was like, nope, not happening. And, it's
so
always
frustrated, right?
It
you
is
can tell
frustrating.
somebody, all these
It's
things.
always amazed me that I could get all these accurate things for people over the years, including accurate predictions for their futures that came true. And I mean, against all odds type stuff, but can't get the lottery numbers. I'll give you an example of the against all odds type stuff. I had a lady that was my work for my credit card processor way back in the day. And she called me one day to get a reading. She said, this first reading I've ever gotten with anybody. And I always love that because that means I can rescue them from the clutches of the ponies out there. She said, that the first reading I've ever got with anybody. Don't know what it's going to be like. I'm just interested in it. Want to see what you tell me. Okay. So I'm telling her this stuff going through the reading. And I said, well, what do you think? And she said, my God, you have blown my hair back. And I said, all right, good. That's terrific. And I said, I got a few more things for you here. Excuse me. And I said, you're going to move within a year. You're going to move from where you're at. You're going to move to Nevada, I believe, Las Vegas. And I think it was Las Vegas. I told her it's been a long time, but I know it was Nevada. Right. And I said, you're going to stay in the same field, but you're going to start your own processing company. And you're going to make more money than you've ever made in your life. And she started laughing. I mean, just cackling. And I said, what? She said, John, she said, everything you have told me up to this point has literally blown my hair back. But she said, this, honey, she said, you missed the boat here. You got to be way off. She said, I have no intentions of moving. I hate Nevada. She said, for me to start my own processing company would take way more resources, connections, and money than I have access to. And she said, as far as making more money than I've ever made in my life, I'm pretty well topped out right now in my field. And she said, I can't see that happening. And I said, write all this down and holler back at me down the road. So several months later, she called me and she goes, John, I moved to Nevada, started my own credit card processing company, and I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life. And the hilarious thing was she had totally, completely forgotten the reading. And after she had done all this, a friend of hers said, hey, didn't that psychic tell you all this was going to happen? And she was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. And I was like, oh, my God. So, it's like you encounter all these things, all these foibles that people have when you're trying to help them. Even if you give them accurate predictions, they forget them even when they come to pass, so it gets squirrely.
So after the Three Beard show, Craig and I were the only ones on, and John was there. And John, you were fantastic as always.
Thank you.
Because I've seen you on other shows, and so Craig had his own question, and I had my own question. And John, I love this about you, brother, so much. You said, do you want to know the truth or what you want to hear?
Yeah.
And let me tell you, folks, I've actually used a similar line on people.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell, they just want to know it. They want to hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
So I have to break things down so that they can tolerate it. When the answer is no, whatever it was. And I've learned a long time ago, tell me what it is. I want to face it straight up. And then
exactly.
Let's go over, because I've been sent back to zero so many times. It's like, once you get sent back to zero 5,000 times, 5,001 ain't bad.
Right.
Like, okay, well, I'll duck and weave here. Right. Yep. And I love that about you. And I don't know if that shocked you a little bit, but I think it was like, oh, this guy is not like, like all the other people, but that's it. They don't believe what you're saying. I have a brother / fraternal brother. I'm a Freemason, whatever it is. I know I'm not the Illuminati. My bank account sure as hell is not the Illuminati. I wish it was, right?
Yeah.
But I told him, I said, you and the other brother, you're gonna have a show, and it's gonna spur you. You're gonna get all these people on there. You're gonna get and that's what's gonna build up. Then you'll write some books from whatever. And I was actually on the show, and I think to a certain degree he doubted me, because what he was doing is, do you ever get people that ping you like, Brian said this, but Clara said this, but Clara said this, Brian said, and I'm like, I don't get pissed off if you want to go to 3, 4, 10, 100 other people,
right?
Because what I see is what I see. I'm not saying I'm seeing the whole picture. I'm seeing, you're asking about X, and I'm giving you that what I'm getting.
Right.
Some other people may see it in a different angle.
Right.
So it behooves you to, go to somebody else that you feel is trustworthy, but don't, something I always tell people, and I said, don't get stuck.
Yeah. Don't hopscotch from psychic to psychic, because you go to 10 different psychics. You're going to hear 10 different things. You're not going to know what to believe.
Yeah.
And then, thank you.
Yeah.
I had a client
awesome.
that, there were 2 women that were friends, and they said, if we want to call somebody that we know is going to be honest with us and going to tell us the truth, who are we going to go to? John. So, because they knew I'd tell them the truth, not what they wanted to hear. So they had several readings with me, and they sent a friend of theirs to me, and they called me up and said, we have this friend, and she's going through some things, and we want to send her to you for a reading. I said, okay, great. So they sent her to me, and I did this reading for her. And I said, your marriage is over. I said, prepare for that and begin to move on, because I said, it's just dead and gone. It's dead in the water, and it's not capable of being revived. So we went on through several other things in the reading, and she kept coming back to the marriage over and over. And she said, are you sure about this? You're positive about this? I said, yep, take it to the bank. So we ended the reading, ended the call, and things were congenial as far as I knew. So a few weeks later, the women called me, her friends, the ones that I always read for, they called me and they said, "Oh, John, we got to talk to you about so-and-so's reading." I said, I can't do that. Readings are confidential. And she said, no. We're not going to ask for information. We're going to give you information. What are you talking about? What's going on?
That's
so she said, when she got through with your reading, she was livid. I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "We got off the phone. We were in, as far as I knew, good graces. She was polite and seemingly happy and friendly." She said, "Oh my God," she was livid. And she said she didn't believe you. And she said, "John, we're not exaggerating. We literally counted. We literally kept count. And it may have been more than 10, but I know it was at least 10. She said she went to 10 other psychics, and it may have been more, but I know it was at least 10. She went to 10 other psychics, and every single one of them told her, no, he is wrong. He is not right. Your marriage, your husband loves you. Your marriage is going to be saved. You're going to get back together. You're going to be happy ever after." She said, "John, he filed for divorce this week." I was like, so I always tell people, I say, look, find you somebody with a track record that's verified and established. You go to my website, there's media testimonials on there. There's over 80 client testimonials on there, specific things, detailed things. And so you find somebody that's reliable, that you mesh with well, and then you stay with them. And as long as they're guiding you correctly and accurately and properly, don't go hopscotching other psychics. I had this one client one time, and she had never told me this. And after I'd done several readings for me, she let slip, besides me, she had 7 other psychics. She had a psychic for her love life. She had a psychic for her money. She had a psychic for her travel. I was like, oh my God, no wonder you're so confused all the time. Jeez, oh Pete. So, it's like, look, folks.
Exactly. It's like, well, some people feel more comfortable. Sometimes some people, they get a little bit more accurate reading in their opinion from person A with love, and then person C with missing. And look, it's whatever you want. I mean, if you want,
I always tell people, I say, look, keep your eyes open. If you have these readings and nothing happens and no predictions come true, you're wasting time, effort, and money and spiritual energy and things.
Exactly.
And I remember I used to do, when I was younger, I used to do these big psychic fairs. And there was this one huge psychic fair in Austin that I used to do frequently. And I was sitting there one time, and I had my tarot cards spread out on the table. And this lady walked by, and she went, "Oh, tarot cards," and literally almost started running away from me. And I was like, hey, get back here. Come here. Yeah. She walked back over to the table, and I said, "What the hell was all that about?" And she said, "Oh my God," she said, "my husband and I went to this tarot reader one time. She was supposedly this old Romany gypsy woman or something, or so had gypsy blood or whatever. And she used the tarot cards, and she saw all these scary, horrible things and made all these awful predictions and stuff." And I said, "How many of those happened?" And she said, "What?" I said, "How many of those came true? How many of those actually happened?" And she stood there for a little bit. She was like, "None of them." There you go. And I said, all these years, you've been afraid of this tool, this technique, because of somebody's misuse of it, when you could have been utilizing this tool and technique with somebody that was accurate and good, that would help you and give you. And she said, "Oh my God, you're right." And she got it, and she, "Give me a reading." And she said, reading. Like, that's
a great way, but a great explanation to it. And then that's an answer. Al asked the question, does he read tarot cards? Yes, he does. Actually, he's from what I've seen, really, really good at it. I love tarot cards. I've always loved them since a kid. Yeah, I have a collection of them behind me.
I do too. I've got over 100 decks. They're just beautiful. They're gorgeous.
Some of them are just amazing.
They are amazing artwork. Amazing. Artwork.
I have one now that has, I think it's called Lexitite. It's the old, you remember the old plastic that if you tilted one way, it looks like something. And then if So this tarot deck is a limited deck, and it has 2 different tarot decks on it.
Oh, that's neat.
Time. it is the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta get this. And I play,
Yeah.
and I just sit there like a little kid. But I love tarot cards.
I do too. Yeah.
I don't read them. I had a friend who was a card reader, and they would take a normal deck,
Yeah.
shuffle it, ask your questions, and then shuffle it a couple times, put it out in order, and record it, and they'll tell you everything. And I thought that was really cool. But then again, yeah, that's pretty. I have like 6 decks of cards that I'm pointing to right next to me right now.
Right.
I just keep them, and I never got into it. I just love the beauty of a tarot card.
Yeah, the artwork is tremendous. And my book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities, I have a chapter on learning how to read the tarot. Yeah. So that's for anybody that wants to get started, that wants how to learn it. There's a primer in there to get you going. And it's I believe, people always talk about, is it the tool or is it the person? I think it's both, because I think there are things like the tarot cards, dowsing rods, crystal balls. I think things have an inherent energy or sentience within them. And I think that we connect with that, and it's a dance. It's a dance between us and whatever tool or technique that we're using. Now, I don't have to use anything. I don't have to use tarot cards or crystal ball or anything else, but I'll get it. You'll enjoy it. Thank you.
Yes.
But, I use them when I feel like it's appropriate, or when I want a little extra insight or a little extra depth or whatever, but I don't have to. I can read for somebody in rush hour traffic on the middle of the Brooklyn Bridge or whatever without any tools or techniques, just other than my psychic gift. But there are certain things that I like to use, and that
I bounced out for a split second there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But
I didn't see you.
I apologize. I have to feed the rodent or the Flintstone bird that's in my router. Sometimes I'll tell you, and I don't know if you've ever had this experience, because John does paranormal investigations as well. And that's basically, if I'm correct, writing with ghosts, angels, and spirits of the dead. I mean, you're kind of going on paranormal investigation as well as the knock in the attic.
And the knock in the attic, and then talk a little bit about more experiences in the Crying Tree and the Magic Rock. And then I've got a 5th book coming out summer this year, which is called The Cansack Ghost, and that's going to be more true paranormal experiences. And somebody asked me one time, they said, why do you think you were targeted to have all these, because I've had way over 1,000 physical paranormal experiences, probably thousands by now. And there was a smart aleck. There were these guys that they do spoof shows, skeptic shows. And what they do is they go around and find all the paranormal podcasts, and then they download the information from that, and they make fun of the people that are on the paranormal podcast. So just by just happenstance, I found their site, and they had made fun of me on Coast to Coast AM. And they were like, oh, this guy, I've had X amount of paranormal experiences. See the crap I have to put up with, people. How would this guy do that? What does he do? He's like, oh, here comes another one. I better write this one down. And it was so funny, because that's exactly how many I know I've had. I write them down. I started keeping track of them 40 years ago. And when they would occur and when they were really significant, I would write them down. Some of them I would date. I would put all the details of what happened and why and what I learned from it and so on and so forth. So it was so funny. It's like, how do you know you've had that many? I wrote the suckers down. I did them in longhand on a thick tablet, and now I've got them in computer files, Word documents and stuff. And I keep, there you go. And I keep track of them. So, excuse me.
We do the same thing. I mean, you'll have an experience and I'll just do a recording, like blah, 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 whatever is going on. Like, especially when you wake up, and I've stated this before, there are dreams, which people have, which are vague. And then you can have experiences, and an experience is full details.
Yeah.
And I had one last night where I think someone took blood from me, but we won't get into that. But I posted it online, but I've woken up and I know there were certain messages or details in there, and I start the phone up, and if someone talks to me like whatever, and I go,
gotta get this down, gotta
get it out, otherwise you lose
it. Yeah, And it's so
Right.
important that people pay attention to these things and that they chronicle these things, that they keep track of these things. Because look, these are sacred moments. These are sacred experiences. Think of the energy that it takes for an invisible presence to put a physical action on a door in your house and close that door. Think
Right.
of the energy that
Oh
takes.
yeah.
Think of the mechanism that's involved there. That's a sacred experience. And when you experience that, you need to pay attention to it. And you need to, you need to thank the spirit, the person for manifesting it. You need to ask, is there a lesson to learn there? Is there something to do? Whatever. You need to keep track of these things. And some of the things that you experience, I have literally had my life saved many times by my guardian angels. Literally. That is a big, huge, gigantic monster thing.
Yeah.
There are experiences I've had that some people would call small. But to me, it's not as valuable in rank as having my life saved, but it's as valuable in that sacred moment of realizing that even in small ways, the other side is communicating with us.
Yeah.
And in my latest book that's coming out this year, The Cansack Ghost, I talk about this paranormal gnat that's followed me around for most of my life and still manifests. And people think, a gnat. Now, how small is that? That's not anything like seeing a UFO or whatever this. No, it isn't, but it's still a sacred moment. And you have to be careful about what you count small, because the other side will use small ways, little things, to communicate large with you and to let
Right.
you know that you're being watched over, being visited, that you're being kept track of, so on and so forth.
So I mean, like, it's actually interesting. It's a gnat, because if you've ever had a gnat come around you,
Mm-hmm.
and that may be other people having the same experience, not connecting the dots to it.
Mhm.
It's annoying. So it's getting your attention. Something
Getting your
actually,
attention. Yeah.
right. So I was following on the abilities of you and your spirit guides. So lately I've been seeing numbers a lot lately.
Yeah.
I've been seeing it for over a decade, but it really ramped up the last 5 years, and
Mhm.
like the last 3.
Yeah.
11, 11, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2,
Right. Right.
Now a lot of people call them angel
Angel
numbers.
numbers. Yeah.
Right. And also mention that, your guides and guardian angels are giving you a message. When these pop up, I found that when I experience them, and I experience them often, it usually comes when I'm wishing, wanting, praying, or thinking of something or someone. And I feel it's more of a confirmation that
Yeah.
I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
Do you have that, do you have that same belief, or?
I do. And, there's so many ways that our spirit guides and nature spirits, our loved ones, communicate with us. And I think that each person, we all have psychic abilities. And some people more than others, some people more in tune with them than others. And this is what I teach in my book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. It's like, look, everybody has this, but to a degree. And here's how to train yours as far as it can go. Some people are going to go a lot further with it than others. You could go to the same track coach that trained Alberto Salazar when he won the New York City Marathon 2 or 3 times. And he's going to look at you and say, me especially, for example, and say, son, take a slow, easy walk, and you're never going to have a career in running. You're never going to be a successful racer, whatever,
Yeah.
learn to walk fast or whatever, and don't do too much of that. So we all have abilities, but we all have limits
Limitations.
to those abilities, limitations to those abilities. And that's what you have to learn in life. So
Yeah, it's like that Rolling Stones song. You can't always get what you want, you get what you need.
yeah, exactly right.
And
Exactly.
you know what? That shouldn't disparage you or discourage you from reaching for your dreams, because
Absolutely.
if you
Absolutely.
reach for the galaxy and you get to the moon, you're pretty
Yeah.
close.
You're pretty close.
So, yeah,
And
but
you have to, I always tell people, I say, look, stretch yourself, reach, but understand that at some point your niche may be, well, I can do this and this and this, but I can't even get close to this other thing, and that's okay. And we need to learn where we fit into the scheme of things. And we need to learn what we're comfortable with and how we receive communication from the other side. And I always tell people, I say, look, there are places that I can go psychically, spiritually, paranormally, that would make somebody else sick and throw up or scared to death or run screaming away, and does not bother me in the least. I'm perfectly comfortable and perfectly happy there. But that's me. Now, if that's not you, don't try and force yourself into that niche. Don't try and fit into that. Don't try and do that.
Right.
So, it's like I took our son, my wife's boy, I took our son one time and went to this abandoned house that just had really wonderful haunted energy coming from it. And the energy from it energized me, and I was all enthused and happy and excited to be there. And it made him literally nauseated. It made him literally physically sick.
Yeah.
So, some people react differently, and you have to understand how you react and what your, I may be a classical music fan and you may hate classical music. Don't try and shoehorn yourself in there. So if you are trying to learn spiritual tools and techniques, I'll tell people in my book, for example, thumb through there and see what jumps out at you. See what, oh, this looks interesting. I want to try this. And then use that and get good at that. If there's other tools and techniques in there that you look at and say, "Ooh, I'm not sure about that," don't do it. If it bothers you, if it scares you, don't do it. It's as simple as that. I have an entire chapter on the Ouija board in there.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Ouija board.
And people are like, "Oh God, the Ouija board, the Ouija board." I'm like, look, The Exorcist was a movie, not real life, okay? And I tell people that what you have to understand is you'll decry the Ouija board, but you'll gladly and happily buy a tarot deck or dowsing rods or a pendulum or a crystal ball or whatever, and use those without any worry whatsoever. And you're using the exact same motive energy to connect with the other side as you are with the Ouija board. Oh, John, you don't know what you're talking about. I had a cousin. No, you didn't. I've done this for my entire life since I was age 5. I've studied every tool and technique on the planet. I've had over 1,000 physical paranormal manifestations. I've read for clients in over 40 countries over 50 years. Yeah, I do know what I'm talking about. If you've been misled by people that want to, put butts in seats and sell movie tickets, basically. And you've been misguided and misled by people that think they have an understanding of the psychic and paranormal and spiritual realms, and they do not. And so, a lot of what happens is, like she said, Ouija board freaked her out once. A lot of what happens is misinterpretation. We'll have an experience and we misinterpret what we're experiencing due to the dogmatic traditions that we've been raised with. And an example of that, excuse me, I had when I was filming the pilot for the History Channel, we were filming at this one place, and this lady said, "When you get a break, I got to talk to you. I've got to talk to you. This ghost tried to kill me." I was like, "Oh my God, no ghost tried to kill you." So anyways, we got to the break, and I said, "Come, we'll go in this other room. We'll talk." And the other side already told me what was going on, so I already knew what was happening. And she said, "Yeah, this ghost tried to kill me." She said, I was standing at my sink washing dishes, and she said, "This cupboard in my kitchen across the room opened up. The door opened up by itself. One of the plates, stacked plates on the shelf, flew out of the cupboard like a frisbee, like somebody had sailed it, flew right by me, hit the wall right by me, shattered into a jillion pieces. The ghost tried to kill me." I said, "The ghost didn't try and kill you. He wasn't even trying to hurt you. If it was, it would have hit you." I said, "What's happened in your life?" So here's what I mean by misinterpretation of experiences. People say, oh my God, malevolent, dangerous, evil, demonic." No, it wasn't. And I told her, I said, "Look, this is what's happened in your life." I said, "You have spiritual gifts and abilities that are above average. And you know that, but you repress them and you ignore them." And I said, "The other side has some specific things that they've been trying to get through to you. And you keep pushing them away and pushing them away. And finally, they've reached the point of frustration where they say, okay, ignore this. You can't ignore this. You've got to acknowledge the reality of this. Pay attention. We're upping the game here to show you that this is real and try and get through to you." And it made sense to her. She got it.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of what we experience is misinterpretation of things because we've been told
Right.
it's dangerous, it's demonic, it's satanic, it's malevolent, it's evil, this, that, and the other, whatever. So anything you go into with that mindset, whatever happens, that's how you're going to view it, and that's how you're going to judge it.
Exactly. I mean, like if I always, there's certain things I don't do on a paranormal investigation. If I feel or get the vibe that it is on the demonic or satanic like that, way above my pay grade. Okay. So I'm like, no, I'm good. I got theater tickets. No, I'm good. You know? And I've said this down. Al can attest to it. If I go there and or people that sometimes we would take, we actually have our psychic in Arkansas check them out before they go, because if you're having a bad day, if you're depressed, if you're cold, you have a cold, a sickness, you're more vulnerable to a hitchhiker, somebody jumping in and saying, "Hey, let's go for a ride." And if you're in a bad, like a depressed, dark state, you're going to be taken advantage of,
or you're fearful to begin with,
right? For whatever reason. So it's not safe for everybody to be in there, and I wouldn't put anybody in danger. So I said, if I'm feeling this, or if I say, "Listen, guys, I really wouldn't go in there if I was you."
Yeah.
I'm not doing it because I'm tired and I want to go home. I'm warning you in advance that unless you're really, prepared for what you're going to experience.
Because like I say, people are fearful, people misinterpret things. And the main thing is, excuse me, that people go in with these preconceived notions and they're scared to begin with, and they're convinced they're going to encounter something malevolent or dangerous or whatever. And so if something happens, even if it's positive, they're going to view it as a negative because they precondition themselves that way.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, look, if you go out in the woods and you get mauled by a bear, the bear wasn't demonic, satanic, or malevolent. The bear is just doing what bears do. This is life on this planet.
Yeah.
So we don't ascribe that to the bear. And there are entities in the other realm. I'm not saying everything is all light and roses out there, but what we've been taught is not right about all this danger and stuff. And there are entities out there that have tremendous power. We don't know who or what they are. They've never been human. They may not be malevolent or demonic or dangerous, but they have a lot of power, and they may be easily offended. And they may decide to teach you a lesson.
Oh, yeah. That's why you don't go into a paranormal investigation and provoke and
curse the spirits. Don't do that.
You don't want to be an a-hole.
Don't do that. That's the worst thing you can do. I said, look, you wouldn't go to Mike Tyson's house, knock on his door and go, "Get out here, you blankety blank SOB. You come out and show yourself now. I'm not afraid of you. You'd be picking up your teeth off the sidewalk for a week."
Yeah.
So, and talk about the power that the spiritual realm has. And I write about this in Writing with Ghosts, Angels, and the Spirits of the Dead. I was physically picked up by a tornado on the bike and turned sideways in the air, me and the bike together, and then put back around. I describe it in detail in the book. And it was like this, I felt the spirit. It wasn't the tornado. It was the spirit manipulating the tornado. And the whole story's in there. And it was literally picking me up like you'd pick up a piece of fruit at the supermarket and inspect it, turn it around and look at it and okay, here's John and his bike, and then sit me back down. And it was like, wow, the immense power that the other side has and could exercise when they choose to, if they want to. It's just mind-blowing. It's just mind-boggling.
It's and they have it's actually funny. I've driven through 4 or 5 tornadoes.
Mm-hmm.
Last one was coming down this year, and then Debbie was cutting up, Hurricane Debbie or whatever. And my youngest is in the back. We hear the she's hyperventilating. There's a tornado in your area. Seek shelter. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, and both of my daughters are like that. Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, we're good. This ain't my first rodeo, baby girl.
Yeah.
It worked out well, but the younger one was like,
holy cow,
this is going to cost me therapy sessions. So that's where it gets to going back to There's certain things I don't do. I don't really get scared from many things.
Mhm.
There's only one thing that really does scare me. Is when a doctor goes, "It's a girl."
Yeah, there you go.
Again. But I'll take a happy, healthy baby all the time,
Absolutely.
even if it's a girl.
Yeah.
And Uncle Al, he knows both of them, and he knows, he has his own. It's a girl.
There you go. There you go.
But yeah. So you was talking about Melissa. Melissa's your motorcycle.
Yeah.
How many miles on her so far?
Almost 114,000 just on this bike alone. And an interviewer pointed out to me one time, John, that's 4.5 times around the circumference of the earth.
Think about that.
I know. Think about that. How mind-boggling is that on my motor? And I've been riding since I was 15. That's just on this bike alone, that much mileage. So, yeah, but I'd never thought about it. 140,000 miles on a bike's a lot. But they said, John, that's 4.5 times around the circumference of the earth.
Yeah,
holy cow!
That's incredible. I mean, I always when I think of bikes, having one in New York City was like, no. I used to ride with some of my friends' things, and I know Alan, a couple of people here are bike enthusiasts, and I remember, speaking of Cisco earlier on, that's the first thing I got when I found out what the bike's name is, Sweet Melissa. And correct me if I'm wrong, you walked into the dealership and the bike said, "Hi, I'm Melissa."
That's it. She told me her name and I fell in love, and that was it.
That, I want to say, it's going to sound weird. Did Melissa kind of talk to you? Melissa? Yeah. Okay. So she would communicate to you, and then she would actually, when you're riding, on the bike, he's like given free rein to kind of like, I kind of want to go up to, I think one time you were going to Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And she pulled you off into a car museum.
Yeah. Well, the guides did really. And, but Melissa does have her own input. She's always said, hey, let's go this way, or let's go that way, or whatever. And it's always, made for a more interesting ride or a safer ride or whatever. But we've always had that communication. And, I talk about in my books, I believe objects, machines, things are sentient, have their own energy, their own consciousness, self-awareness, whatever. And one of the main examples I give of that, back when I was a teenager, I had old junker beater cars, and they never ran that well. But if you took that car to the car wash and you vacuumed it out, and you cleaned it, and you polished it and waxed it, and you cleaned the windows, by God, literally, objectively, it ran better for 2 or 3 weeks after you did that.
Yeah, it was like, look, I got a new cut. I got to look.
Yeah. And so things have this inherent energy in them. And this is something I've been exploring now in more of my books. There's some exploration of this in The Crying Tree and the Magic Rock. There'll be more in the Kansak Ghost when it comes out this year about the sentience in nature and the awareness of nature. And the interesting thing in all of this is, and I document this in my books, I give references for it in my books, used to, back in the day, the shamans and the medicine men and the psychics and the mediums and whatever would say that everything's connected. There's a universal force field, a universal mind and energy out there, and everything has emotion and feeling and knowledge to some degree. And science and skeptics came along and said, that's hippie tree hugging nonsense. That's a bunch of superstitious crap. That can't be, blah, blah, blah. And now what's interesting, and I give the citations for these in my books, is mainstream science now, not fringe science. Mainstream science is saying trees have memories of their lives.
Yes.
Trees understand what's going on in their life and they remember it. And plants and trees have communication networks, and plants eavesdrop on their environments, and they know things, and they send these underground signals, and they do this and they do that. And it's like, holy cow. So mainstream science is acknowledging the sentience of all this and the connect. Now, physics now acknowledges the connectedness of everything, because you read in those experiments that physicists do that there's an experiment here with a targeted thing in Sweden, and what happens to the thing here happens to the thing in Sweden at the same time, you know? So
Yeah.
there's all this interconnectedness. And so now science and physicists are proving what the mediums and the psychics and the shamans have said all along. They're proving scientifically that, oh, guess what? Yeah, it really is that way. And I have to interject this, excuse me. One of the craziest things I ever read, and I have it bookmarked somewhere on one of my computers somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but there was an experiment done. There was a guy that was, and I'm doing this to the best of my details, but the factual part of it, I won't get wrong. I believe it was a plant shop owner or florist owner or something like that that was murdered in the store. And the police had a suspect, but they couldn't nail things down. And they said, God, if we just had a witness. And this one of the detectives said, we have witnesses. And they said, where? They said, here in the store. And they said, what are you talking about? And he said, the plants. The plants saw the murder. I said, you're out of your freaking mind. So he said, let's do this. Let's take one of the plants, let's hook them up to a sensor, and let's bring in a lineup, including the guy that's our suspect, and let's put them in front of this plant and see what they register. So they ran these people through. The first guy comes up that's innocent. The plant doesn't do anything. The next guy comes up. The next guy comes up. The guy they suspect of being the murderer comes up, stands before the plant, and the electrodes and needles attached to the plant go wild, go absolutely crazy, go absolutely nuts. And so, okay. And so they get this guy and they start grilling him. They say, listen, we have an eyewitness.
Right.
He's like, what? Yeah, we have an eyewitness. We know you did it. And he cracked and he confessed to it. And sure enough, the plant recognized the guy. So,
right.
You know, things have intelligence more than we realize. And there's this interconnectedness in the universe more than we realize. And we need to be more respectful, more understanding of nature, animals, everything.
100%. That was one of the questions I said in recent articles in science publications. Plants and vegetation have been determined to be sentient beings.
Yeah.
This is kind of mind-blowing for many people, especially a curveball for most vegetarians.
Yeah. Because I examined the food chain and the crying tree and the magic rock, because it gets into this whole thing of we have to eat something to survive.
Right.
And whatever we're eating is sentient, whether it's animal or vegetable. And so it leads to this whole conundrum of how do we approach this, and how can we make this better, and how can we be more compassionate with this? And it's just it's a mind-blowing thing to come to this realization, to have this understanding. And it's a theme that I'm going to explore further in books, as more books that I write.
And it's really interesting. They now sell these little devices on most social media, or on Amazon as well, where you can hook up pincers, which were back in the day.
The mushrooms.
Yes.
Yeah, and the mushrooms make music.
They make music, or you can hook up this other device to trees to hear what the tree frequency is.
Yeah.
And it's proven that if you use, if you take copper and you put it deep in the ground and then put it near the tree, your tree will grow bigger and stronger. If you play certain music to it, vibrating at the same frequency. Right. I mean, this farmer did it. He had watermelons that were ginormous. And so if this is I knew there was something more to vegetation or plant life when we were doing remember those science experiments, like this is the control. Yeah. This is getting aspirin. This is getting bourbon, whatever it was, and we usually did talk. You can do this with ice right now. Yeah. You can take 2 trays of ice, take the first tray and talk like, oh, I thank you very much. I love you. I hope you have a beautiful day. Okay. Yeah. Put the water in there, put the ice in your refrigerator, your freezer, then take another piece of ice and talk negative to it. I hate you. What is your problem? Get angry. Yeah. Put it in there. And then if you look underneath a microscope, and they do sell one on Amazon, I use it to look at pennies, by the way. You will see that the crystals on the one you talk nice to are perfectly formed, symmetrical,
Beautiful.
really
Yeah.
innate, and the other ones are like
Distorted, deformed, and yeah.
So it was just, I've always thought there was something more to it. Like I picked up, when I saw the book, The Crying Tree and Magic Rock, my dad used to do it. Sometimes you go to the beach, you go up to Maine or wherever it is, and you just pick up a pebble and there's something, it looks like a heart, or there's something else like a petroglyph in it.
Yeah.
And then certain things, like for some reason, I love flowers. I paint and all that stuff. But I love orchids. Orchids are just, and there's so many different types.
Yeah, they're gorgeous, gorgeous flowers. Yeah,
right. The complexity of it,
yes,
is just so. I mean, when you're eating your P's and Q's, when your carrots, right?
Yeah.
Just remember that they know you're eating them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm not a vegetarian. I never will be. I do appreciate the animals that have come, and in investigations, actually, when I did the ones down here, because I'm allowed to carry, before I go in there, I try to connect with using an active intelligent encounter where you put your conscious out there saying, we do have firearms. They're not for you.
Right.
But there are other predators here that think we're prey.
Yeah.
And if we're forced to, we will defend ourselves against them.
Absolutely.
But I promise you, we are leaving this to you as a tribute, and it's yours.
Right.
I personally don't want to hurt anybody. Unless you come into my house, you touch my kids.
Yep.
Okay. Then it's
there
all.
You go.
It's all. Go. If you think Mama Bear's bad.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So, but I just love the fact, and I love what you're kind of doing with this. I can't wait for, you expanding on that, the crying tree, because I've heard trees and they make sounds.
Oh yeah.
And they're, I've heard things. It sounds like weeping.
Yeah.
And when you start, after you read, 20 ways to increase your psychic abilities, and you start using them, and you start picking up on these nuances, it will sound, the world, it's kind of like going from regular into Wonka land. When you open the door, and it's just like, I'm not saying there's going to be chocolate streams any place in Florida, by the way.
You hear differently, you smell differently, you think differently, you perceive differently. It's a whole new world opens up for you. And what people don't understand is it's a lifelong journey. I've continued to read and study. I've continued to learn. I've continued to have experiences. And the crying tree and the magic rock, I've had rocks that have communicated with me for most of my life, but not to this degree as what I've written about in the new book. And it's a continuing process of continuing to learn, continuing to open up, continuing to appreciate the sacredness of all this and the wonder of all this and how fantastic it all is. And the main focus of everything is, how can we make life better on this planet for everything and everybody? And that has to be our main focus in learning all of these tools and techniques: love, compassion, healing, understanding, and tolerance. That's the goal of every spiritual thing that we learn, experience, and do. It has to be that. That's the overarching message of everything, is that we learn all of this, we experience all of this to learn tools and techniques to make life better on this planet for each other.
100%. I couldn't agree more. When people revolve their life about money, money's great. Okay. Money gives you, when you have money or wealth or something like that, it gives you a free ability to not have to worry, which takes away years on your life.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You buy your own time. You're free.
Right. Yeah. It helps you out medically and what have you. But riding along with what John just said, there are two things you can take with you from this life into the afterlife. One is anger.
Mm-hmm.
It serves no purpose.
Right.
I'll be brutally honest. It serves no purpose.
Right.
Because you're not going to judge anybody. The Almighty will. Okay. You think you can, but it's just, but one of the most important ones you could take with you in this lifetime, in heaven, in the afterlife, and the rebirth and whatever, is love.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it is so important. Yeah, sometimes people piss you off, but the love you extend to people by just being courteous and nice,
Yeah.
you'll be surprised. Everybody has a bad day,
Yep.
especially these last couple of years.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if it sucked, you know.
Yep.
And love does give you abundance.
Yeah.
There's an abundance. You can give it out. There's different types of love too. You know, there's parent, child, father, son, whatever it is.
Right.
But I've practiced this, and if you can try to practice this, it's
Yeah,
really simple.
absolutely. Because
Yeah.
we have to get rid of ego. We have to get rid of tribalism. We have to get rid of, it amazes me how, you can be in the same state
Right.
and absolutely vehemently opposed to your fellow Texan because they don't root for the same football team that you do, and it becomes an honest to God bone of contention where people will get up and fist fight over a stupid game.
Oh, Texas and football go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff.
It's just insane. It's just nuts. And then people, those GD Yankees, those MF Southerners and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's like, folks, we're all here in the U.S. We're all Americans. We should all be working together to try and make things better and to reach the spiritual understanding connection where we're using these tools and techniques to make life better for all of us. And then we've got tribalism, not only within our immediate communities and larger, we've got tribalism worldwide because people in France don't like Americans, not all of them, but a majority of them. And people in this country don't like people in this country, blah, 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 blah. So, what we have to understand is that, I look at all these, I've traveled some and gone a short ways overseas and done some things, been in a lot of different states here, been to Canada, been to Mexico. And I watch all these shows on TV, all these documentaries about different places. And I think, look at in each country and their particular culture, look at the foods, the wonderful foods, Mexican food, French food, Italian food, Chinese food that we get to eat that was brought to us by those cultures or influenced by those cultures, even if we Americanized it. Look at the crafts, look at the art, look at the textiles, look at the books, look at the writing that all of these different countries and cultures do. And it's like, my God, people, can't you see that we're all the same, that we're making the same things, we're doing the same things. The art may be a little different, the food may be a little different, but God, isn't it all wonderful? Isn't it all sacred? Isn't it all great? And instead of bombing and killing and shooting each other, for God's sake, can't we see that and get together and try and make something really good on this planet for everybody?
Yeah. I've been doing this for the last 5 years. If I meet somebody and they have a name tag, like, hey, Chris, thank you very much. Have a blessed day. I always say, have a blessed day.
Right.
And let me tell you something, people, I've gotten what about being blessed? They get, they're angry for whatever their reason.
Yeah.
I don't let it harsh my mellow.
Right.
As they said, something that my youngest has done. I didn't teach her this. She's not doing it to take advantage of anybody. She's just naturally started doing this from day one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go, oh, John, I really love your glasses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've seen her do this, and it's like she's an earth angel.
Yeah.
And people that are having a bad day, like, oh, I love your earrings.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And
it's a blessing. It lifts them up. It changes their day. It changes their outlook, changes their emotions.
And that positive snowball,
yep,
it's bigger and bigger and bigger.
Exactly.
And she's going to go home like, oh, there's this cute, like little girl. And she loved my earrings. And aren't they great? And she's going to, and now the bad day she was once having, the hardship, whatever, changed.
Yep.
and I tried to explain this on a different show that I do. I do a show every other Thursday live.
It's a ripple in the pond.
Right. So like if you hit the lottery,
Yeah.
you hit for $100 million.
Mhm.
Please, Lord.
Yes. Please, God.
I'll be good. Right. So if you hit for $100 million and you know you have that ticket, everything would be like, because you know you have that ticket, everything's going to be great. Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy this, and that feeling that it gives you
Yep.
of having that win is awesome.
It
right?
is. It is.
And so here's what you do. Have that feeling prior to having that ticket.
That's right.
And if
That's
you put
right.
yourself in there, I'm hitting the lottery and it's going to be great. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But that positive thought does beget the result you want. So
Yeah.
if the result of winning the lottery is free, greatness, you're like, ooh, it's wonderful.
Mhm.
Then think, ooh, it's wonderful, so that you call into play that victory.
Yeah.
And by God, please, if you do come into something like that, I'm just begging you, help people.
Help
Not
people.
the pat on
Help
the back.
Yeah.
I do a ton of things anonymously.
Yep.
Not a lot of money.
Yep.
Here and there. It's not always money. Someone's house
Yep.
burnt down.
Absolutely.
I don't even have that much.
Absolutely.
I'll give you a certain amount, like something.
Right.
I'll be like, if you need something, let me know.
Yep.
So that's the positiveness. But we do. I don't want to keep you all night, and we're getting close to that point. But we do have a question from Al, and that question is the following. John, I continually get touched in the back of my head every night. Who's touching me? Your wife, Al. I know your wife. Sorry.
This is a deceased female relative. It's either an aunt or a grandmother, and it's like, does she ever not just touch but pull your hair?
Reply back, Al.
Reply back, Al.
Yeah. I get that every once in a while. I was getting it 7 stories up, and after a while, I know who I think it is. It's and I'm like, please stop right now.
Yeah.
Of course.
But that's who it is. It's some female relative that's on the other side, either an aunt or a grandmother.
I'm going to tell you, because I know Al. He's like a brother. You're spot on.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know about the pulling or the tugging.
Yeah. Because I was wondering if when she was alive, if she would ever kind of pull his hair a little bit or something.
I don't know about that aspect of it, but
that's who it is, and she's just letting you know, hey, I'm keeping a watch over you. I love you. I'm keeping an eye on you. I want you to know I'm here.
Yeah, well, he probably is doing the honey-do list right now. So my daughter and I always win something on lottery scratch-offs. Always. Last back, she was rushing to take her to the store. She was in a hurry for work, and I just wasn't in my lot of win vibe. I have that too sometimes, but hey, I tried to game. I'll tell you how I tried to game the lottery system. You're gonna love this, John. I think everybody's gonna love it. And I had somebody that was like, "Oh my God, I didn't even think of it that way."
Mm-hmm.
Get a deck of tarot cards, cleanse them, clear them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sage or whatever. Sleep with selenite. Put it in the And here's Al. Al, did you hear his answer? Were you going to the potty or something? No, you're gonna kill me later, right? So here's what we do. Take the cards, shuffle them, keep shuffling, don't look at them, and then pull out, all the 5 cards, turn them, boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
And then the 6 Powerball mega number.
Right.
Because each one of these tarot cards has a number associated with it.
Right.
And they usually it's like, what is it, 72, 74, something like that, or it's no 70.
72 in the deck, yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to cover the Powerball.
Yeah.
And you can do it for pick 3, pick 4 as well, by the way. I did that. And one of my buddies goes, "Oh my God, that's genius. I didn't even think of it." I'm like, you've got a better chance of getting hit by lightning 9 times than winning the Powerball. Try it. If you guys win, send some money to John.
Yeah, there you go. To both of us. To both of us.
We're both in Florida, so we'll meet you someplace.
There you go.
We'll
There you go. 78 cards. 78 cards.
Yeah,
but anyways,
please, when the other books come out, I definitely want you to come back if you can to promote them and chat.
Absolutely.
There's I'm trying to explain this to people. I was explaining to another friend, one of my friends. He's a brother, but I never met him. But there's a connection there.
Yeah,
and it's like, and when you have this connection, when we get together with people like Oklahoma Nana and people that have been in our chat tonight and Al and Straw Dog and so on and so forth.
Good synergy there. Yeah.
Right. I'm thoroughly convinced that before we came down here, we were all like connected somehow up there. And we kind of said, like, over a couple of beers or scotch, whatever your preference is,
right?
Holy sacramental wine.
Bourbon.
John, when you get down there, we're going to hook up. It's not going to be initially.
Yeah,
we'll pass each other a couple of times. You'll be like, but then what, and that's what I feel. And I've always felt it, from when I met you on and was able to talk with you and chat with you on the Three Beards and the keys to the kingdom here for anything, my friend. And I definitely love having you here. Where could people that want to get a reading, want to talk to you, want to buy your book, get that autographed copy, and see you next? How can they reach out to you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, if they want to get a reading, go to johnrussell.net. And it's got everything there and more that you'll ever want to know. It's got my qualifications, my client testimonials, media testimonials, appearances, a link to my interviews. Of course, how to schedule a reading. Just so people know, it's anywhere from 3 to 6 months before I can pitch you in. So just so you know, it's going to be a while. So that's for the readings and all the information on the psychic work. I have a dedicated author website, which is johnrussellauthor.com. johnrussellauthor.com. So there are all the books, links to buy the books wherever you want to, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, whatever. I've got all my awards there, my interviews about my books, endorsements. I've been endorsed by Uri Geller, by George Noory, by Kat Hobson, Fate Magazine Radio, by Phyllis Galdi, publisher, Fate Magazine, Mike Ricksecker, tons of people have got all those endorsements there. And then each book also has its own webpage with all of the full editorial reviews, reader reviews, awards, so on and so forth. So all of that's there at johnrussellauthor.com as well.
Yep, and the new book's coming out. After the Crying Tree and Magic Rock is out right now. You can get it.
It's out right now. Came out in October last year, and the Kansas Ghost, the newest book, will be coming out sometime in the summer this year.
Yeah, so and we'll definitely love to have you back on in the summer and
absolutely,
summer fun, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you around in some place that are across this. I'm going to be out in the West Coast and of this. Every time I say it's out in the West Coast, I'm like, oh, you're going to California? I'm like, I never stepped foot in California before. West Coast means west side of the peninsula.
Florida. Yeah.
I'm not going to California. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Good night, everybody. But I can't thank you enough for being on.
Oh, I appreciate it. I
had like all these like 17 questions, but we kind of
covered them, right?
Kind of covered it for everybody. And I thank everybody for showing up in chat.
Yes,
and being there for the show. I miss Tom too. Tom was one of the guys that used to have his own show, and unfortunately, early in the year in September, motorcycle accident. But he was a good guy, but he got really connected to Jesus and changed his life. And when it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah.
We don't have a say, and we can't play chess against the death.
Right.
In that. And if just talk to somebody who had a near-death experience, and they'll be like, "This place sucks." You know, it was great up there. This place, you know, yeah. So, and I get it, you know. But I thank you again for being on. I'm just gonna close out the show. Can you go? I'm gonna take you out. I'll talk to you right after. I'm just gonna play my music to close out.
Absolutely.
So I'll be right there.
Again, and thanks to everybody that tuned in, and God bless everybody.
Thank you, John. I'll talk with you in a minute. Hey, everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming in on the show. I really do appreciate it. I hope it was heartwarming, very heartwarming, Nana. I can't thank you, Nana. I need you here. I know you got a life, so I'm not going to kill you, but like I do this all the time. If it wasn't for everybody that watches the show, subscribes to it, like it, you know, please, I mean, share it, comment, the whole thing. I really need you. I'd love to get more and more people here so I get a bigger audience so I can do more things. I'm planning on doing giveaways and whatever, and maybe even live calls to get your questions answered. But none of this would happen without any one of you. So you have a great night. Next week we have the cryptid huntress, Jessica Jones on. I can't wait to talk about remote viewing and cryptids and all that other stuff. But I want to thank everybody here, and thank you. Good night, everybody.
You, it's always been you. God showed me you. I have been searching decades for you. I found you, I lost you. My heart is broken without you. My soul aches for you. I need you, I want you. My days are filled with you. I've seen the future with you. My home is with you. I have felt the future with you. My nights are filled with you. Love is you. True love is you. My happiness is you. Every past life is with you. My dreams are filled with you. Life is meaningless without you. My future is with you. I will fight for you. I will defend you. I will give up my life for you. Whatever it takes for you. Nothing else matters but you. I love you. I love you. I love you. God showed me you. I have been searching decades for you. I found you, I lost you. My heart is broken without you. My soul aches for you. I need you, I want you. My days are filled with you. I have seen the future with you. My home is with you. I have felt the future with you. My nights are filled with you. Love is you, true love is you. Love is you, true love is you. My happiness is you. Every past life is with you. My dreams are filled with you. Life is meaningless without you. My future is with you. I will fight for you. I will defend you. I will give up my life for you. Whatever it takes for you. Nothing else matters but you. I love you. I love you. Life is meaningless without you. My future is with you.